Generally speaking, I don't love coming-of-age films. Part of that is personal. This will come as an enormous surprise to everyone, I'm sure, but high school was kind of a nightmare for me, and even something as tame and cute as The Edge of 17 can trigger very lucid Nam flashbacks. Also, so many of them play the same. I realize these stories are supposed to be universal, and Nolan-level puzzle plotting isn't a major draw, but honestly, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. There's always a love interest who turns out to be a huge dick. There's always that one anti-establishment adult who becomes the protagonist's confidant. The protagonist always seems to climactically lose their shit and go out and do something irresponsible. There's always a scene where they're embarrassed about their clothes or their acne. I could go on. So much of their storytelling relies on nostalgia and the audience going, "Oh brother, I've been there." I think this can all create a pretty big disconnect for audience members whose coming-of-age experiences didn't follow that mold, and for audience members who, well, aren't teenagers anymore. The best coming-of-age stories, in my opinion, aren't strictly coming-of-age stories. They splice in another genre or plot element to up the stakes and simulate the emotional highs that we all felt in our adolescence. Rian Johnson's Brick is a great example because high school kinda felt like a film noir sometimes. Allegiances constantly shifting, different social hierarchies you have to understand and respect or you're toast, everyone's horny and trying to seduce each other. It just weirdly clicks, and it makes for a more compelling movie. Donnie Darko is an interesting one because Richard Kelly felt he could only set it in the 80s, feeling out of touch with youth culture in the early 2000s. And yet, 2021's anxieties and frustrations are reflected in the film so often it's a little eerie. Dogmatic self-help fads, moral panic ideologues, teachers struggling to make sense of outdated and underfunded education systems, mental health, and potentially the end of the world as we know it, all hang over the characters in ways that make them instantly identifiable and likable.
Fear and love are the deepest of human emotions.
Okay, but you're not listening to me. There are other things that need to be taken into account here, like the whole spectrum of human emotion. You can't just lump everything into these two categories and then just deny everything else.
But this is all to do with screenwriting, really. Let's switch gears and talk about technical filmmaking. Let's talk about Andrea Arnold's Fish Tank from 2009. Set in a dangerous East London housing district, the film follows 15-year-old Mia as she makes every effort to escape from a world of irresponsible decision-making, alcoholism, and anger with her passion for hip-hop and dance. She's just had a bitter falling out with her only close friend, leaving her isolated and hostile. However, her mother's new boyfriend Connor seems to be more compassionate and worldly and charming than anyone she's ever met, eventually earning her admiration and respect and oh shit. This is one of those tropes I complained about earlier, isn't it? Well, yes and no. The first 75% of the film seems to be just observing routine until you realize that a very surprising, insidious plot has been brewing in the background. Fish Tank ultimately goes to some very dark, complicated, and unexpected places, but it always leaves enough room for multiple interpretations of its events and characters. Unlike most coming-of-age film protagonists, no attempt is made to aggressively endear you to Mia, though she's always interesting to watch thanks in no small part to non-actor Katie Jarvis's natural performance. The filmmakers discovered Katie in the midst of a spat with her boyfriend at Tilbury Town while casting, which is amazing and fitting. Mia is not the kind of person who talks at length about her feelings. She's more likely to just cuss you out.
And who do you think you're pushing? Your right eye is gonna match your left. Get out my fucking way.
You need sorting out, you do.
So you keep saying, but you're nothing to me, so why should I listen?
We have to guess at how she feels and surmise what we can through how filmmaking techniques present her perspective, which we're fully locked to for the entire film. Arnold's approach lacks any judgment or agenda. It's less, let's look at this young person being a wild and crazy young person, and more, how does this young person see and experience the world? I'd almost call it documentary style, but the frames are so consistently and meticulously composed. They capture an impoverished, forgotten, decaying industrial world slowly and surely being swallowed by nature. The 4:3 aspect ratio conveys a trapped feeling, but also emulates the various cheap TV screens Mia fixates on and desperately wants to see herself in as she dreams of escape. Silhouettes are appropriately frequent. Mia is being eclipsed and drowned out by her brutal environment. We see very clearly how these kids imitate the behavior and destructive patterns of their parents. It's all they know and all they see. So many things that seem like special disruptions of Mia's routine turn out to be, well, shit. As a result of all this, we blame her less and less for being so hostile, reckless, and irresponsible. Another way Fish Tank avoids the disconnect of other films in this genre. She's just protecting herself from further disappointment, and we get that, without any showy speeches or cliches. She's no adult, but she's constantly trying to make sense of very adult burdens. There are a couple meditative stretches of the film that are nice, but border on ponderous, and I think it runs just a little too long, but this is a viewing that really worked for me as both a teenager and an adult, and it had been about that long since I'd seen it. I think that speaks to how well Andrea Arnold and company were able to use the language of movies to put us in this character's shoes. If, like me, you found yourself irritated with how teenagers and their stories have been committed to celluloid over the years, Fish Tank might be exactly what you're looking for. Also, it has a Commando reference, which automatically makes it a good movie.
I like you. I'll kill you last.
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
Thanks for stopping by or sticking with this channel. Let me know what you're watching in the comments these days, and I'll see you next time with a romantic body horror melodrama about a filmmaker's divorce.